better. They are, like the Heat, are offensively starved, and he would bring offense. There's no doubt about that. But the trade I saw that people were now, thankfully, there were a lot of people that thought of it for what it was, which is lunacy. But there were a handful of people that thought it was a good idea. There's an irrational hatred among Knicks fans for Julius Randle, an irrational hatred, which is crazy and almost sadistic. He's the most consistent player the franchise has had in like 20 years, other than maybe Carmelo Anthony. And that's the guy we're going to have a hard time with. But anyway, the trade I saw was Karl Anthony Towns. And now this is one of those ESPN trade machine things. This wasn't reported as, being discussed. I want to emphasize that. But it was Karl Anthony Towns going to New York for Julius Randle, Obi Toppin, and like 3 first-round picks. And I was like, well, if I'm Minnesota, yes, please. That like undoes the Rudy Gobert disaster. From New York, this is why New York fans are idiots. The idea that that's a good idea is crazy. And I like Towns. I would take Towns. Now, if you told me 2 first-round picks and Obi Toppin for Karl Anthony Towns, I would do it. I would. I don't overvalue draft picks. The likelihood that you're going to get someone as good as Towns in 2 drafts is pretty minimal. And I think Obi Toppin's just a guy. I know a lot of Knicks fans really like this guy. I don't. I think he's just a guy. That I would do. But Julius Randle, this is where Knicks fans lose their minds because they have this irrational hatred for this guy. Julius Randle and Karl Anthony Towns, just that straight up, I'm not even sure I would do that. Julius Randle's about as good as Karl Anthony Towns. He's not quite the shooter, but he's a better rebounder. He's much more athletic. He's much more durable, and he's got a better attitude. And he's already proven he's able to handle New York. I don't know any of that about Towns. Now, I would like both of them. Like I said, I think you could play them together at the 4 and the 5. I would move. I would move Toppin and 2 first-round picks for Towns. I would. I would even potentially move Mitchell Robinson, not because I want to move him, but because I think he's going to want to move himself. He's already almost said that in the media. And I'd rather get something back for him, a controllable asset. That I would do. That's an aside. That I just thought of it now because he plays the same position as Towns would in that lineup. But realistically, whether I got Towns or a new center or not, I'd probably move on from Robinson because he's going to want a bigger role than that team's going to afford him anyway, and he's probably going to leave. So I would just trade him for something just as a housekeeping measure, whether I made a big splash or not. That's like an aside the point. But I would do that deal. Now, I'm not trading Randle and Toppin and 3 first-round picks. You're out of your damn mind. Like, this isn't, that's what you trade to get like Joel Embiid. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trading 3 first-round picks, an all-star, and a useful rotation player for Towns. I'm not doing it. It's crazy talk. Minnesota would love it.
I am not on your side with this.
I know you think less of Towns than I do, which is fine.
I would hate to have both of them. Because it's all you would have is 3 other pissed off players because no one would see the ball.
Yeah, it would be him, Brunson, and Towns.
Oh, Brunson wouldn't see it as much as he wanted.
Well, he needs to have it in his hands less than he does. That's part of the Knicks' problem. I know the Knicks fans love Brunson, but he is a ball stopper extraordinaire. They need a third option.
What is Randle? Well, he's a chucker. He's a ball stopper extraordinaire, and Towns wouldn't be much better.
Well, Towns in that lineup, I think, would be he would probably find himself settling for a lot of corner threes. He likes to envision himself as this like sharpshooter 3-point guy, which, he is a decent shooter for a big man, but he's like, I mean, look, I think ultimately, if I was really going to take the next step, I think Brunson is a better trade chip than Randle. I think Randle...
Towns and Randle together are a disaster.
Yeah. I mean, no, if you move Brunson, you can't also get Towns. if I was going to move Brunson, it would be like we've discussed before for someone like Damian Lillard. Another player.
And you'd have to move a lot more than Brunson.
Well, you would move Brunson, probably 2 of those picks, and probably Toppin.
Which is fine.
And I would do that trade. Yeah. And then if you have Randall and Lillard, I think you're closer to a title than Randall and Brunson. Now, Towns to me is a guy that sometimes when you're a team like, I think Miami, I think New York, I think even the Clippers, although theirs was more injury related than anything else, but that's the problem with that team. We know those guys there, that's what they do. But there's a handful of teams this year that were just offensively starved, that if they had just one more guy who could put points on the board, they would have been a lot better. I think I'll put it this way. I think with Towns, this Miami team makes this a 6 or 7 game series against Denver. I do. They average 94 points a game in 2020.
Towns on Miami, I agree with. Towns on New York, especially if it's with Randall, I don't.
Well, that's a weird mix. I agree with you there. But their core problem is still the same, which their offense just there's not enough scoring on that roster. I do agree that he fits the existing roster in Miami better than he does in New York. There's no doubt about it. I agree with you 100% there. But both of them have the same essential problem, which is they need to find another way of scoring the basketball. Miami just averaged 94 points a game in the finals in 2023. That they literally just averaged the same number of points in this finals as they did against the Knicks in the 90s. That's not good.
No, not at all.
And that's a problem. Now, Tyler Hero being out, certainly, him being back would help that. But even during the regular season, with him there, they were still a bad offensive team. I think this team needs scoring punch any way you slice it to take that next step. I think the Knicks are the same thing. They need scoring punch. And Towns brings that. Now, I agree he's a bad fit alongside Randall. Now, would I trade Randall a first round pick or 2 for Towns? Not include Toppin. So let's say Randall and 2 first round picks for Towns. I mean, the value, that's fair, but I don't know that it improves you much. Towns is not that much of a better offensive player than Randall.
No, he's not.
And Randall's a better defensive player and a better fit and more durable. I'd rather Randall than Towns. If we decide I can't have both because they don't fit together and I have to choose between one or the other, I'm choosing Randall. With the Knicks anyway, because he's already there. But I do think that an offensive weapon makes a lot of sense. I've seen people float the idea of Bradley Beal, which I think that would work. He's an off-ball shooter. Doesn't need the ball in his hands necessarily to be effective. He's, kind of got some of that, Reggie Miller, Richard Hamilton, Klay Thompson in him, where he can play effectively off the ball, get to his spot, catch and shoot very effectively, or take one dribble and hit those running floaters he's so good at. So he fits on a team with guys who have a tendency to kind of pound the rock a little bit too much. So I think he would complement Randall and Randall and Brunson a little bit more. Barrett's the one guy I wouldn't trade. He's probably the least of the 3 players, but he's the one guy that doesn't have to have the ball in his hand for 12 seconds to make something happen. And those guys are invaluable.
He's the best wing defender.
Yes. Yep. So of the 3, he's the one guy I absolutely would not trade, barring getting back a true difference maker. Look, if you were going to get back a Giannis or something, you trade anyone you want to get someone like that, but that's not going to happen. So short of that, Barrett's the guy that I'm keeping no matter what, because he fits whatever you do going forward because of his style of play.
I hear this every year out of the Wizards, though.
Yeah, they're not moving Beal.
This might be the time we move Beal. No, it's not.
Why would you move a guy like that?
You say it all the time. If you feel moving him can get you the haul to make you a contender, you're wrong. And Beal's not asking to be moved.
Right. Now there is a nice crop of free agents out there. Some of them have options, but some of them don't. And the Knicks are in a position where they have some cap space, and more importantly, they have a pretty linear line to acquiring more cap space without too much issue if they want to. So they are in a position where maybe you don't even need to trade for a guy. They might be in a position to sign someone. Now, who?
What is their cap space like?
Trying to look that up right now. I was just looking at the current free agents. One guy that I've heard a lot of talk about is a former Knick. That's Kristaps Porzingis. He does have a player option. But he would fit them nicely. I don't like Van Vliet for them. I don't think him and Brunson would play well together.
I don't think you need another smaller guy.
No, you don't. I completely agree.
Which is one reason I don't want Beal there.
Here's an interesting guy. Now, again, he has a player option, and I'd be surprised if Milwaukee didn't keep him. But Chris Middleton could potentially be a free agent, and he would fit the Knicks. Thibodeau would love him, assuming he's healthy. He would be a Thibodeau type of guy. Rugged guy, plays defense, nice and long, efficient offensive player, doesn't need the ball in his hand. You get him the ball real quick and he makes his move. That would be an ideal piece. If Milwaukee's iffy about him, I'm making that phone call. He would be a great piece. Jeremy Grant of Portland is also an unrestricted free agent. I think he could help that team. I don't like Vucevic there. He's out there. Brook Lopez of Milwaukee. See, I think there will be some roster change in Milwaukee. So if Middleton or Lopez becomes available, I think Lopez would be an interesting signing for the Knicks. He's familiar with the market. Obviously played, downtown, down the, in Brooklyn for all those years. He is a guy that fits in. You could start him. You could have him as a sixth man. He's not going to rock the boat. And he's just as consistent as a clock. He just is consistent production. Quiet, consistent production. And he can shoot. I like that for the Knicks a lot. Kyle Kuzma for Washington also has a player option. So there's a few guys out.
Where do you put Barrett then?
With Kuzma, I would put him at the 3. I would, if I had Kuzma, my lineup would be Brunson, Grimes, Barrett, Kuzma, and Randall. I would play a small ball lineup to space the floor a little bit with Robinson off the bench, or depending if I was playing a tougher team, like let's say I was playing Philadelphia with a big, I might change that up and bring Robinson into the starting lineup with particular matchups. Basically, my 3-man front court rotation would be Robinson, Randall, and Kuzma. And I think I would default to the smaller lineup with Kuzma at the 4 and Randall at the 5. Because Randall, even though he's shorter, he's built like a brick house. He's built like a Greek god. He can bang with people, even though he doesn't have the height. He's a very good leaper, and he's built like a tank. So I can get away with playing him at the 5 if the other guys all spread the floor. And now there's not a lot of congestion around there because he can bang around with someone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's built like a tank. I mean, his shoulders are some of the broadest shoulders in the NBA.
Very true.
So, I think
Yardbarker had a report the Knicks were the 3rd team. They had 3 potential Bradley Beal trade suitors, and the first was San Antonio. Which makes a lot of sense.
That does make a lot of sense.
Atlanta. They figured maybe if Washington would take Trae Young back. But I think I'd rather play with Wembanyama and be coached by Pop than go to Atlanta.
Yeah, well, I totally agree that. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We got our OC Bomber Player of the Week coming up, and that's up next. It's the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.
Is now officially home to the home run of our favorite beverage, Days Coffee. Days patented blend contains approximately 85% less caffeine than other coffees, which makes it better for you, yet unlike decaf coffee, still gives you that great pickup and tastes amazing. Formulated by a retired cancer pathologist, Dr. Grant Lee, Days Coffee is fermented with a patented enzyme that until now required a complex and thus expensive sourcing and production process. With Dr. Lee's formulation, this enzyme's great health benefits can now be brought to your cup quicker, easier, and cheaper than ever before. Here's how you get a hold of this game-changing cup of joe. Go over to radioonlydeals.com and get a $4 gift certificate to Days Coffee for just $2. That's radioonlydeals.com to buy your single-use digital gift certificate for Days Coffee. Radioonlydeals.com. That's radioonlydeals.com. Enjoy the preferred coffee of the Gary Ayd Show. Enjoy Days Coffee.
All righty, welcome back to the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave. Joining me now are our two OC Bomber Players of the Week. We have Mia and Aaliyah Soto here. Hello, ladies. How are you? There we go. Hello, ladies. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for joining us. So, let me start with you, Aaliyah. You are part of the Bombers now for how many years? How long have you been playing with the Bombers?
For 3 years now.
3 years. Okay, and you're part of the 14U squad.
Yeah.
What positions do you play?
Catcher and left field.
Catcher and left field. Do you have a preference between the two?
Not really.
Yeah, that makes sense. What prior to joining the Bombers, at what point did you first start playing softball?
Like when I was 5, so like 8 years ago, maybe.
Oh, okay. So you joined them relatively recently.
Yeah.
And Alessandra, with you, what about you? When did you first start playing softball?
I started playing softball when I was 8 years old, so that's 8 years ago.
8 years. And how long have you been with the Bombers?
I've been with the Bombers for 2 years now.
Cool. Now talking about the Bombers, what's what would be the biggest difference to you playing with that organization versus maybe where you were playing or maybe you still even play before? Like what's the biggest difference that maybe took a little adjusting or that you noticed right away that you thought was cool or whatever?
I think the biggest difference is definitely like the level of training that they do give and how like big the actual organization is. So it's genuinely like just a big family. Like you walk in and everyone's there, everyone says hello, and it's like everyone knows each other. So I think that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. Now, have you two had a chance to be on the same team at any point in your softball years?
Yeah. We've done Little League together for some time, and possibly varsity. We'll see about that.
There you go. And you guys are what, 2 years apart?
Yeah.
So you're a junior now, or a sophomore?
So I'm going to be a junior.
You're going into junior year. Okay.
Yeah.
And Aaliyah, you're going into
Ninth grade.
9th grade, freshman year. Okay. Very, very cool. And Allie, what positions do you play?
So I can play every position, including pitcher and catcher, but you genuinely see, or like most often see me in the middle infield, behind the plate, and probably in center.
So you're all over the place then.
Yeah. Definitely.
That's pretty cool. Aaliyah, this is for you. What do you find to be the part of softball that you have to spend the most time practicing? Where do you find yourself doing your most development?
Batting, like teamwork, a lot of teamwork.
Oh,
like in the tunnels and into like nets and stuff.
Got it. Now, are you a left-handed hitter or a right-handed hitter?
Right-handed.
Awesome. And the opposite of that, what do you find to be the part of the game that maybe comes the most natural to you? I know you play a couple different positions. Is there a part of the sport that just kind of comes instinctually for you?
Like, I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe like athletic.
Yeah, like
The athletic,
the
like,
athletic
naturally
part.
athletic,
Yeah,
yeah.
the athletic part towards it.
There you go. What about you, Alessandro? Let's starting with the first piece. The what do you find to spend the most time on that you have to really work at?
I definitely think I have to work more on the mental aspect of the game, like being able to control yourself, especially when things are going like maybe not your way in the game.
Yeah. And softball and baseball, they're sports of failure, right? I mean, like when
Oh
you
yeah.
hit 300, you're doing pretty well, but that means 7 out of 10 times it's not going so well.
Yep.
It takes yeah, I've always said that about baseball and golf and softball. Those three sports, they're really like, if you win 1 out of every 50 tournaments you play in golf, you're doing pretty
Right.
well. But
Yeah.
that doesn't sound good when you say it out loud. And softball and baseball are similar. What's been the having each other, being you're so close in age, and you've got a chance to play with each other. Is there a little friendly competition between the two of you? Like, what's the dynamic between the two of you when you are playing together, or maybe playing at the same time? Is there like a little friendly rivalry there, or what's the dynamic?
Well, Aaliyah thinks that there is, but I would say no, because it's like, so she was like, she grew up as a catcher, I grew up as a pitcher. So it's like we always did work together in that like time. But when we were younger, Aaliyah would always say, stop pitching the ball like over my head. But I would tell her like, don't like just catch the ball next time. So that was definitely like our most argumentative thing. But I always told her I could always strike her out any day of the week. So that was always our thing, like the thing I had over her. But I think now playing with each other is definitely like when I'm pitching, she's catching. It's kind of just like we are able to read each other's minds.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, because I could like look at her and like she knows I'm about to throw a change up, and then it's just like, yeah, it kind of works like that.
That's pretty cool. Now we got to get the second side of the story here. That's your side. Aaliyah, what do you have to say for yourself here?
I say any single time I step into the box against her, I will hit a home run every single time. So yeah, she's never gonna strike me out.
Oh boy, I think we need a tie-breaking vote here. I don't know. What does Dad think? I wonder. But hey, what about? Is there a moment, maybe a game you guys played together that stands in your memories as one that was like really memorable? Aaliyah, I'll start with you on that one.
I don't. I'm trying to think. I can't remember the past.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Yeah, no, I don't remember.
All right, no worries. What about you?
So I would say our very first, it was I think our first year of Little League. We were on a team together for the first time, and we got our first Little League dub. The very first win of the season was when I was pitching the whole game. She was catching the whole game, and it was definitely a stressful game because we were both very young. So it's like someone makes a mistake, we're jumping up and down. But I think that point on is when we like realized that this like softball's a thing we could do, and like moving forward, be able to get really good at it. So I think that was a game that stood out to me.
That's awesome. And how long ago did you say that was?
Like 8 years, 7 years ago.
Oh, yeah, you guys were very young.
Yeah. I
Now,
still have the ball.
oh, you still have the game ball?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That's really awesome. What for you? I know you're going into junior year. Do you have hopes and aspirations of playing in college once you're in the next couple of years?
So I definitely do want to play in college, but right now it's kind of just like where, like,
Yeah.
definitely that problem of it. Like which college will fit every single thing that I want to do moving forward after that.
Have you given any thought to maybe what you want to do, as far as maybe a career or major?
So I want to major in physical education.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's probably like fitting. I think it makes the most sense for me. And
Awesome. And what about you, Aaliyah? I know you're a little bit younger, a couple more years out, but do you have you thought about maybe playing beyond high school yourself?
Yeah, definitely in college. I definitely want to go at least like D2 or D1 for softball. So
Awesome. Good to have high goals, both of you.
yeah,
How much season is left for the Bombers this year for you guys?
like 2 months, a month and a half.
Yep. Yep. When's your next big tournament?
In 2 weeks.
Awesome. Very good. Well, enjoy it, and both of you, congratulations, and thanks for spending some time with us today. And hey, best of luck the rest of the year, and going into high school, Aaliyah. Good luck next year, and I'm sure we'll be talking.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Thank you, ladies.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Bye.
Bye. Alrighty, there we go. Those are our OC Bomber Players of the Week. Up next is Seth Kamens. This is the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.
Are you like me? You have health insurance, but you don't have dental insurance. Do you need to get to the dentist right away? Maybe you need an implant or some other major service. Well, I found a dental insurance plan that's just right for you. It's called Spirit Dental. Spirit Dental offers a $100 lifetime deductible, a huge network of dentists. And here's the best part. There's no waiting periods. Yeah, that means you can call right now and have real dental insurance for you and your family tomorrow and get that immediate coverage you want. Spirit Dental has plans for just a few dollars a day, up to $5,000 annual maximum, and coverage for implants. Whatever age you are, the dental insurance you need is a free phone call away. Now don't wait, and be sure to ask about Spirit's vision plan. Here's the number: 800-631-9229. 800-631-9229. That's 800-631-9229.
Hey friend, life happens and you need money. What do? You call the special toll-free number we're about to give you. We will send you a link to your phone with details on how you can loan up to $5,000. Couldn't you use $5,000 to pay for your rent, pay grocery bills, get your car repaired, or whatever you need? It's up to you. We don't care. We're just here to lend you the money. And we'll lend people money with good, bad, or no credit at all. Of course, some terms and conditions apply, and you'll see those on the link we're going to send you. So if you need up to $5,000 maybe as soon as the next business day, call this number right now. We will text you a free link with details.
Paid for by Money Mutual. Call 800-586-7112. 800-586-7112. 800-586-7112. That's 800-586-7112.
Alrighty, we're back here on the Gary Ayd Show. Gary Ayd, Rich Anselmo, and we're joined by Seth Kamens of Back Sports Page as well here. Seth, what's up, man? How you doing? Seth? I think we had Seth here.
Uh-oh.
I don't know where he went. He says he's connected. We'll try him again. Let's go ahead and try him again right now. We'll try again. But it's interesting talking about the let's try him again. Seth, you there, man?
I am. I don't know what commercial you had me on before, dude.
Hey, you know what? I don't know what happens. Yeah, the Gremlins, who knows? So all right, NBA champions have been settled. The Denver Nuggets, you and I did a lot of live texting during most of these games. I mean, it was pretty obvious to anyone that watched these two teams. I mean, Denver was they were just better. I mean, there's just no.
They're just better.
They're just better.
Yeah.
But I will say, I think it's a little concerning, and their regular season output was fairly in the same ballpark. Miami's offense is bad. I mean, they struggled to get to 90 every game. They got past 100 only once in the whole series. That was game 2. And they averaged like 95 points a game, which is in 2023 is like kind of hard to believe. I mean, that was like a 1995 score. That was like a Knicks Heat score from like early 90s. I mean, man, this is not a good offensive team.
No. Well, to be fair, Tyler Hero was out, but they weren't very good with before him anyway.
Right. Yeah.
And while Butler is an alpha dog, Butler is not a number one scoring alpha dog, most likely on a championship team. Although, look, I mean, it could be proven to the contrary.
Right.
But nice, well-rounded game. They need a gunner.
Yep.
I
agree.
The problem is, I mean, some of these trade things I've seen are hysterical. Like Dave Vincent and Caleb Martin in a first-round pick for Damian Lillard.
Why would Portland do that?
Why? Like,
Right.
what?
I saw one of those crazy trades for the Knicks. In fact, Rich and I were talking about it about 20 minutes ago. Now this was in a group. This wasn't like officially reported by like a reputable source, but I guess it was like an ESPN trade machine thing. And basically it was Knicks fans have a vendetta against Julius Randle for some reason. So they're trading him 3 first-round picks and Toppin for Karl Anthony Towns. And I said, yeah, Minnesota would love that. It basically undoes the Gobert disaster. But that's stupid for the Knicks.
Yeah, I don't see it.
It doesn't make any sense.
The Gobert trade and in the Harden, the trades in the last couple of years, it's trading like 5 first-round picks and 4 first-round picks. I mean, you look what the teams did that made these trades, and most of them were kind of mired in mediocrity, except for Phoenix, and we don't really know what Phoenix is.
Right. And I guess you can't really call Philadelphia mediocre. I mean, they were a top 7 team all year.
But now there's a very good chance Harden goes back to Houston.
Yep, that's true.
And once he does, then what?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I mean, I've heard the discussion of trading Embiid. I don't know what the hell that value would be. I mean, but I am not a Harden guy, but do you think they're a championship team if Harden's not there?
No. I mean, I don't think they're a championship team right now with him, but it depends who you get back also. I mean, if you were to bring in, let's say you traded James Harden to, say, I mean, you can't trade him because he's a free agent. So
I was going to say, unless you're doing a sign-in trade.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it depends what you bring back. I mean, obviously the one thing that if Harden walks, now you're going to have a huge amount of cap room, and there are some free agents out there. For example, I know Chris Middleton has a player option. Milwaukee could very easily be in sort of a roster changeover mode with the new coach and the new ownership. The owner coming in, he's not a majority owner, but he's a major owner now, like probably a major minority owner. That's Jimmy Haslam of Cleveland Browns infamy. God help Buck fans. That's probably not a good change. Could I see him or Brook Lopez? Both of them, Lopez is unrestricted. Middleton has an option. Could I see one of them being available? I could. And I think Middleton would be a very good fit for not just Philly, but a lot of teams if he became available. He's a good player.
Yeah, I'm not sure. The problem is he's also a 34-year-old coming off of injury with 1 year left, and I'm not sure he's gonna walk away from that option.
I mean, he'd have to not sign the option. That's very true.
Yeah, so I mean, that's kind of where. Look, Sean and I joke about it on the show that there's. The free agent half the fun of it. It's almost as much fun as the regular season as the free agent market, and trying to figure out what they're going to do.
It's like a stock market game. It's like playing Monopoly with like basketball players.
Yeah, I mean, you look around. We've heard people have offered 4 first rounds from Mikal Bridges.
That's stupid.
I mean, why the hell are the Nets going to trade Mikal Bridges?
That's dumb for everybody. I mean, 4 first-round picks is a lot of first-round picks, and
it is.
And to your point, why would they? He's like the most consistent player in the NBA. He's available every game. He's good on both ends. He never complains. Why would you trade a guy like that? I would never trade a guy like that.
Oh, and I mean, look, unless you're getting Portland's number 3 overall pick, if there's a guy, if you think Brandon Miller is that guy, you get 3 more picks. I guess. Like the people throw out such crap, and I mean, you look at the team that won draft. Super. Again, this is a team that looks to me. I'm assuming you feel the same way. It's probably built for the next 2 or 3 years.
Definitely.
As a legitimate threat.
Yes,
You
without
got
a doubt.
superstar signed for another 3 years. You have your very, very, very good sidekick, who's borderline. He was a star. Jamal Murray is fantastic.
Oh, he's amazing.
And he signed. And then, I think he's got 1 year left, but you don't think they're going to extend him?
Of course they will.
It's not like Ken Kroenke is really like hurting for money right now.
he owns half the sports teams in America, right?
Exactly. Porter signed for several years. Like they're set. And they may lose Bruce Brown, who was a nice player, and Jeff Green, who's a nice player, but they have, I think, just traded for 2 or 3 first-round picks to kind of get these 6'7", 6'8" wing guys who can help here. And like they have their supporting cast. They have it. They're going to be they are a team that is well put together.
I agree.
For the next 2 or 3 years.
I agree.
And they're really like, I don't know if you saw this. How people were saying this was a boring team to watch. I didn't think this team was boring at all.
Oh no, they're the opposite of boring. Are you kidding?
It was like watching Spurs and like the Bar-C-Out Spurs that destroyed the Heat.
Oh, these guys were great.
They were enjoyable. I thought they were really fun to watch. Admittedly, playing it, nobody's fun to watch against Miami. Miami's not fun to watch.
Oh, they're the worst. I did see. Speaking of fun or not fun to watch, the early ratings evidence would suggest that you and I are in the majority here. These were the most watched NBA playoffs in 5 years. Now, that's not specifically the finals, but the playoffs overall averaged 5.47 million viewers throughout the entirety of the playoffs.
We talked about this a couple weeks ago. You look at the top 4 teams in each conference that made it. Miami, New York is a draw.
Yes.
Boston, Philly is a draw.
Yes.
Phoenix, because of everything with Durant, is a draw.
Yes.
The Lakers are a draw.
Yep.
Golden State is a draw.
Yep.
The only team that's not a draw is the damn team that won the title.
And for basketball fans, people that like the sport, like you were just saying, they're a draw. If you're a real fan of the sport, like regular everyday fan, you enjoy watching Denver play.
How do you not enjoy watching Jokic? The man shoots 3-pointers off a back foot. He passes the ball like he's freaking Chris Paul.
He's amazing.
And, I'm assuming this is what our discussion is going to be on in about 10 minutes. He's 28. He's got 2 MVPs. He's got a championship. I don't believe in Finals MVP is anything. I think it's nothing.
It just goes to the most popular player most of the time.
Right. Legitimately, he went for third. He averaged 28, 15, and 9. Amazing. I mean, it's not like it wasn't warranted. But like, where do you put him? Where does he go? Like, he's probably above Robinson and Ewing. He's not like a player that we've really ever seen.
No, he's very different. I would probably put him. I have a ton of respect for Patrick Ewing. I've made the argument before that he did more with less for a longer period of time than almost anyone I've ever seen. That Knicks team in the 90s was awful, but they had Patrick Ewing. He single-handedly made them a title contending team. That team was Patrick Ewing and a bunch of bodyguards. Really, it really was, as if he needed bodyguards. I
think the problem I had with Ewing was I thought Ewing was going to be the greatest ever when he came out.
Well, if he played with NBA players for most of his career, he might have been. I mean, that Knicks roster wasn't even a pro roster in some ways. I mean, when you have both Mason and Oakley, like, okay, I don't need 2 guys to clothesline people.
But that was what Riley wanted. And besides, was Olajuwon's supporting talent that much better?
It was, because they were all shooting threats. Like the Knicks struggled to get to 85 because Patrick had to score 35 to get him there.
Patrick, so you would take, again, it's comparing eras. But I mean, I've never been a Patrick guy. I've never been a huge David Robinson guy.
I'm going to split the difference here. I'm going to put Jokic between the two. I think Robinson was the more talented player, but I think Ewing accomplished more given the circumstances. I'm going to put Jokic ahead of Robinson behind Ewing right now. That's what I'm going to do.
But again, he's also 28.
Well, right. Oh, this is premature, of course, but I think, and I'll tell you this, I think the better question, and goes into what you're saying, is comparing eras. The better question is it Robinson or Jokic or Shaq? I mean, on one hand, Shaq was so physically dominant, but on the other hand, he would have a hard time staying on the court in this era with the hack of Shaq and the spacing and all that. He'd probably be a different player. He probably would have had to stay in like Orlando shape to have a good career.
I'm assuming that Jokic is the closest comp to Jokic is probably what Sabonis was in his prime in his mid-20s.
Or maybe healthy Bill Walton minus the three-point era. Because there's no reason to think that if Walton came around 20 years later, he wouldn't have had a three-point shot. I have every reason to believe he would. He just didn't practice it because it wasn't a thing when he played.
Right. But that team, I mean, what more can you say? That was the 16-4 in the playoffs. I don't want to hear complaints that they beat an 8 seed and they beat a 7 seed. Nobody thinks that the Lakers with Davis and James healthy is a 7 seed. They would have gotten more crap if they had beaten the Kings or beaten the Grizzlies. Let's be honest.
Yep.
So they beat Phoenix, because Phoenix is probably the favorite to win the title, and they beat them relatively convincingly.
They did.
So all props to them. It was a good show.
And this wasn't, for people that have been paying attention, we'll end with this. For people that have been paying attention for the last few years, this shouldn't have been a big surprise. This Denver team's been coming and building for a few years now.
Right. And Murray's comment, by the way, what we talked about, watching Murray's response.
Oh, that was awesome.
Was absolutely awesome.
Talk about opposites, right? Him and Jokic. Jokic almost looked like, all right, okay, where's the exits? Come on, let's get out of here.
Jokic looked bored, and Murray's side is great. I mean, the practicality is if Murray doesn't get hurt in 2020, I mean, look, we didn't know this team was so good. None of us did, because you don't watch Denver on a daily basis.
Right.
Yep. But if Murray was healthy, there's no reason to think this team would not have been very, very competitive the last 2 years.
No question. No question. Well, so you guys got your show coming up momentarily, don't you?
6 minutes.
All right. Well, go break a leg, have fun at it, and we'll talk to you again.
Sounds good. Have a good one.
Thanks. That's Seth Kamens. Yeah, Rich, that's interesting stuff. That juxtaposition between Jokic and Murray was hilarious, because Murray is like probably the most emotional, happiest champion I've seen in forever. And Jokic looked like he just got tormented by playing a preseason game.
Jokic's wife and daughter mean more to him than the game.
Yep, which is understandable.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
It's just that
it was funny to see on
they're
television.
two completely different people.
Yeah.
Okay, it's over. Let's go home.
He looked like he was mad. I texted Seth. I might have texted this to you too. I know I texted it to Seth. I said, does someone tell Jokic that they just won the title, or does he think there's like still games to play? Like,
oh, you sent it to me too.
Oh man. So there was another champion crowned last night in the NHL. Gamblers Anonymous rejoice, baby. Vegas 9-3.
Yeah. I
beat down.
I said yesterday they were going to win it. When I watched the previous game, I had seen a Florida team give everything they had. That tank was empty. Matthew Tkachuk, his brother, was staying with him and had to help him get out of bed to get dressed to go to the arena because of a broken sternum.
Ooh.
The injuries in this series for both teams were no joke. No joke at all. But it really took a lot out of Florida. That and a long break after sweeping their conference finals. That's a deadly combination.
Would you say Florida was a similar type of team and talent mismatch as the Heat were with Denver?
No,
No? Okay.
this Florida team, it's almost the same team it was the year before that won the President's Trophy. They added a couple guys and subtracted a couple, and it took them a while to adjust. They added more grit, and that made them a better playoff team to go with their talent.
Understood.
So they weren't as far off as people think, although I'm still amazed they got by Boston.
Vegas had a, you were telling me about this, an interesting celebration, cadence to their championship celebration.
Yes. Normally, and I was also telling you, I love the Stanley Cup celebration because the first person that touches the puck from the commissioner is the team captain, not the owners or any front office types, or team captain. I've always felt that's the way it should be. The team captain then made sure it was passed one by one to the 6 or 7 original Vegas players. And then the rest of the team, even guys that were injured, were out there taking their little short skate with the cup. When they were done, then ownership went up, and the coaches and the assistant coaches and the scouts and office personnel. It was a 200-person party out there. And it was the most unique celebration I ever saw, and something that really touched me, that everyone got to take part in it.
There you go. That's pretty cool. We got a few minutes left. Let's do some news we can use.
Oh, I found something fairly interesting. Sports talk radio in Buffalo has been unlistenable for the last 2 days because of this Stefan Diggs thing. Settle the hell down. Who the hell cares? It's June. I don't care if Stefan Diggs is there.
Yeah, what does it matter?
I don't even care that it's mandatory.
It makes no difference.
No one needs to be there. That's that
good in that experience. He doesn't need anything here.
No.
He's not a second-year, first-year guy or a fringe roster guy. He's your second-best player. Like, what are we talking about?
And this has been the talk, and it's a city who gets mad because Detroit, and rightfully so, is called Hockey Town, and they feel they should be here. Well, you're not, because you were discussing Stefan Diggs the past 3 days, not the Stanley Cup.
And taking it from the perspective of a non-hockey guy, I could name about 20 players in the history of the Red Wings because they've won millions of cups, it feels like. And at one point, they were like the most dominant hockey team of my lifetime in the late 90s through the early and mid 2000s.
To this day, that 2002 team with the 9 Hall of Famers is the best hockey team I've ever seen play.
I mean, that team was nuts. Even I know that roster. And like, Buffalo can't compare with that. No, well, really, no one can.
No.
So
no, the closest was Edmonton when they had Gretzky.
Right.
And even then.
Yeah, I mean, what was that team? It was like.
It wasn't sustained for that period of time.
Right. One other thing that I wanted to throw out there for a news item last night, the Mets lost another heartbreaker to the Yankees, this time by a final of 7-6. The Mets were out in front at 1.5-1 early in this game, midway through the game. The Yankees had a 5-run fifth inning that put them up 6-5. The Mets tied the game in the bottom half of the ensuing inning, in their half of the ensuing inning. And then the Yankees went on and scored one more run later in the game, a seventh or eighth inning, and won the game 7-6. Max Scherzer got knocked around again. He's got a 4.5 or so ERA. I got to tell you, Rich, I'm getting concerned with him. I think he may just have lost it. It's not super early anymore. This isn't a super small sample size. And if you go back to basically the second half of last year, he was pretty bad. And then in the playoffs, he was pretty much awful. And now he's been basically awful all season, save for one or so starts here and there. I got to tell you, I'm beginning to not think he's going to come out of this. I'm beginning to think he is 40 or thereabouts, and maybe he just doesn't have it anymore.
I'm starting to wonder the same thing.
I mean, he's not.
I really am. But what concerns me is without their power hitter, they scored.
Yes.
I'm just as concerned over the fact that you are not scraping every area, raking every corner, trying to find a reliever.
That's a good concern because, again,
do not wait.
No, I agree. I mean, this game came down to the bullpen again because the Yankees scored the go-ahead run, the game-winning run in the later innings, like the seventh inning or whatever, seventh or eighth inning. The other thing is, and this is one of my people who call it punching bags, I guess, and I guess he is. But Francisco Lindor stinks. He's hitting .213. He stinks. I'm so sick of watching this guy and you know what? He's kind of got some of that Anthony Davis in him, in that I know how good he really is, how much talent he has, and how much the team needs him to play to that talent for them to be successful. And the fact that he's not, and then they're not, just makes you crazy. I watch it every night and it just drives you nuts.
If he doesn't have a history of being as good as he was, it wouldn't drive you crazy.
Right, exactly. 100%. I wouldn't care.
Right.
If this guy was Ray Ordonez, then whatever. Like I expect Ray Ordonez to hit .213, but I'm not paying him $300 million either.
Right.
And he's not batting in the middle of my lineup or the top in a key spot in my lineup. He's batting 8th or 9th. But you need more from this guy, not just based off what you're paying him, but based off of what the roster is and what his talent level is. You just need him to be better. I mean, he hit 300 in Cleveland. He's hitting .213. It's June, mid-June. This isn't May or April anymore. This is not, I don't want to hear it's early. It's not really early. It's like mid-season almost.
Very true. Very true. The time is now.
He has to. And with Pete out, they absolutely have no choice. He needs to play better. They have no choice. The fact that he scored 6 runs yesterday with him doing nothing is pretty incredible. And then they lost anyway.
It's a good sign.
It is a good sign.
If you can continue to hit, that makes the need for a bullpen arm more important. They've got to find someone. I don't care what they have to give up. Do something. Give up cash. The owner's flooded with cash.
I'm beginning, and I'll close on this. I'm beginning to think that Epler has more say within that organization than he should. And I'm beginning to think that he still has some of that analytics, money value thing in his head that Cohen doesn't care. Cohen will spend whatever Cohen needs to spend to get the players that Cohen thinks he needs to get. I think Cohen is delegating too much authority to his baseball people. And I think they're trying to run a team that is owned by Nordstrom as a Walmart. And I think the Nordstrom owner has to be like, idiots, we're Nordstrom, we're not Walmart.
Right.
I think it's as simple as that. I think I said before, I'll say it again. I think that's exactly what happened with the Correa saga. Not that that's worked out terribly good for Minnesota either, but I think that had a lot to do with that. I think it has a lot to do with why they haven't pursued a trade for a major reliever. I think it has a lot to do with a lot of things. I think Epler just wants to try to look smart by getting these second tier guys on great contracts, and the owner's just trying to ball. And I think the owner, using what's normally good business sense, is delegating authority and letting his people run their jobs. But at some point, you have to step in and be like, dude, I want you to do your job, but understand you're not running Walmart here. Like, we want real players. Like,
Right.
why don't you go and try to make a trade for a good reliever? You know, there's got to be someone out there. Like, for example, St. Louis's team is falling off the face of the earth. At some point, they're going to probably sell. They have to have a couple of good relievers. You know, call up a team like, I don't know, another team that was supposed to be good that's maybe not as good. Call up the Giants. Maybe they got someone. I mean, there's got to be relievers out there that are competent and good that you can acquire before the deadline. Like you said, it's going to be too late by then. The Braves are playing too good. You don't want to get buried.
Right. Right. And like I said, and what you said is absolutely right. We're running out of time.
Yes. Yep.
I mean, it's going to be July in 2 weeks.
Right. It's like I said, it's not early anymore. I don't want to hear that. It's not early.
No, not at all.
There we go. All right. Well, that does it for us. We will see you again tomorrow. Quick announcement until probably early September or further notice. We will be 4 to 5 every day from now on, to make sure that we give the best content that whole hour. This hour flew by. This is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. This is great stuff today. So the next couple of months will be a little shorter. As we get closer to football, we will extend it back out. But we will be back tomorrow, 4 to 5, the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.